Hey, it's Dave. Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to open a little bit there with a song by The Firm. That's Satisfaction Guaranteed, one of my favorite songs from that first album of The Firm's. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about Jimmy Page and the genius of why I think he's one of the best guitar players and probably one of my heroes. And you know, I said something there. I said the best, and I don't mean the best, but I mean my favorite. And but maybe instead of saying he's the best guitar player, I would say he might be the most important. And because of this, you know, if we look at like, you know, Zeppelin 1 and 2, there's a lot of thievery going on. He's stealing some of the old blues songs, but he's making it different. He's really careful about the tone of his guitar. The band has a sound that nobody had during that time. He was really killing it as far as, you know, playing nuances to blues that haven't been done before. And again, maybe he was stealing here and there. I just don't think it's that big of a deal as to the impact of what he was doing for the generation. And then with Zeppelin 3 coming in with a lot of that acoustic stuff and open tune stuff. And, you know, it's not even fair to glean over 1 and 2 as I just did. But I mean, like, you know, you take a riff like in Ramble On when he's playing just the way he's like. I mean, it's just there's some real just really classic stuff. I mean, that's just outside of the box of what rock and roll guys were doing. You know, when Zeppelin 3 came out and there's that C6 tuning for Friends, and then he's using an open E tuning on some songs for the slide. And there's just a lot of great stuff. And then when you get to Zeppelin 4, he just blows the roof off of it. Now, the next album after 4, I know is a favorite to a bunch of friends of mine. And it's probably my least favorite album, House of the Holy. And it's my least favorite album because I feel like, I guess a lot of this, he was so much on the radio. And you know, Dancing Days melodically never did anything for me. But the guitar and the open G tuning used on it's brilliant. I've grown to really like it. And Jamaica is a great song. I mean, when I think about it, all the songs are really great. The Rain song's fantastic with that G-sus4 tuning. And the opening song, The Song Remains the Same, is great. I mean, it's a great album. But I don't think I connected with it to the songs as much, although I love the playing on it. And I think his playing was just really just that much ahead of everyone else's as far as coming up with interesting things. He was an interesting guitar player and did not play the common, you know, the common chord, and did not play things that you would expect to see or you do see in regular rock bands. And because of that, you have bands like Soundgarden come out and do that same thing where they take those open tunings. And, you know, you wouldn't have songs like Burden in My Hand or Blow Up the Outside World had it not been for Zeppelin, in my opinion. And, you know, then we go into Physical Graffiti, which is, I always get this mixed up. I can't remember if it's, I think it's 9 original songs and 6 add-ons, or 6 original songs and 9 add-ons from older albums. But the album's fantastic. 10 Years Gone, forget about it. In the Light. So many great songs. Down by the Seaside, Kashmir. I mean, it's just a great, great record. And but again, the importance of what I think why he's such an important player is because he's playing things with these tunings. And he's, you know, some people are like, oh, he's sloppy. Well, you know, you throw a couple of, you know, shots of heroin in him while he's playing, and he's going to be pretty sloppy. But as far as what the creative thing that he was doing was really great. And his acoustic playing by no means is sloppy. He was great. I mean, he was a great, great player. But, you know, Keith plays sloppy, and the Stones are fantastic. And, you know, it's like, and I'm not saying that Jimmy plays sloppy. I think he plays fine as some of the live stuff. And I don't even think he wanted the song Remains the Same to be released because he was really unhappy with his performances on it because he was really whacked out. But I think that there's just something to be said about Jimmy Page as being one of the most important players in the history of rock and roll, which is why I will say I put Led Zeppelin ahead of the Beatles and ahead of every band. To me, they're the most important rock band and the greatest rock and roll band of all time. Just slightly behind the Bay City Rollers, but other than that, no, I'm joking. But in all seriousness, I do think they're the greatest rock and roll band. Now, the funny thing is, as songwriters, I'm not sure how I feel about them as songwriters. I don't think the songs particularly... It's completely different from a songwriter type of song. These are like... it's hard to describe because I'm torn in that respect because I really, you know, love like songs like... you know, I'm not a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. I love Bruce, but I'm not a huge Fanatic fan. But like a song like Stolen Card to me, like has a story and it makes you feel something. And I'm a big Tom Waits fan, and he tells those types of stories. But Zeppelin isn't that type of storyteller. It's much more tongue-in-cheek. And as the British say, they were being cheeky a lot of the times in the songs. You know, I think Royal Orleans, which I think was a song about John Paul Jones running around with a tranny one night, and I guess he didn't know it, and they were calling him Whiskers, and I think he started a fire or something in New Orleans. But I think that he wrote that song because John Paul Jones said something to the effect of the lyrics don't matter, and so he said, if they don't matter, here's a song about you. But I think, you know, even up to In Through the Outdoor, which is an important record, I mean, and I'm torn too because I can't really say it's all Jimmy Page. To me, John Bonham's drums is so paramount to the band. They make the band. And I'm not a huge Robert Plant fan, but Robert Plant, I mean, he's fantastic. He's perfect for that band. You know, it's funny, if I look in their heyday, I think David Coverdale, whom I won't say, but another singer in rock and roll refers to him as the Roger Moore of rock and roll. But David Coverdale in his prime, I thought, had a much better voice than Robert Plant. And in fact, I think the Whitesnake album, Slide It In, could be one of the most underrated 80s albums ever. But it's just a lot of swagger on that album. But as far as... but Plant was great for the band. When I think of like Achilles' Last Stand... You know, it's funny, I have a drum student, and we were talking about Achilles' Last Stand, and I was having him listen to it. And we were listening to it, and I showed him, look, here's the drum beat basically for Barracuda, taken right out of the song. And then when you get to the da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, it becomes Love Gun. I mean, so many people in the time were influenced by Led Zeppelin. And I just think that, you know, it's strange to me because I don't think he did really much after that. But again, I don't think he had to. And The Firm, I mean, like the first two Firm albums, I think are great records. You know, if you're going to look at it like a comparison to Led Zeppelin, I mean, that's just silly. But it is a different project that he wanted to do. You know, not everybody wants to build this colossus of a band and everything for every project. You know, so it was like for that thing that he had with Paul Rodgers, I thought it really worked really well. And I think that he's very a clever player. You know, it's funny to me because like a lot of people look at Hendrix and they comment like, oh, everyone after Hendrix, especially the blues guys, especially older blues guys are always like, after Hendrix, everybody else is. It's like, shut the fuck up. His songs were crap. And if you're a Hendrix fan, I'm sorry. But most of the songs are crap. In fact, I don't really thought he caught a groove until he started doing Band of Gypsies, which like Them Changes, and that I think has a vibe. But as far as like Purple Haze and Foxy Lady, fuck off. And yeah, he did a lot for the guitar, but it's not the same for me. Like, if I had to sit there and think what was the most important thing for the guitar for me as a player and as a creative person, it would be Jimmy Page and learning, you know, some of these open tunings and learning how to play, you know, the Rain song the proper way, and learning these things that he did on his own. And I recommend that to anybody, to go out and to try to create stuff on your own and come up with your own thing. So like Soundgarden, they used to do, in Rusty Cage, I think every string is tuned to B except for one, which is a cool, I mean, they had a cool sound on that. Now, when 7 strings started coming out and becoming popular, I was playing in my band, The Big Angry, in Los Angeles, and I bought a 7 string. And I hated the way the thing sounded out of my dual rectifier. I was like, this thing sounds like shit. It was a higher output pickup. No one was really making a pickup that I liked. I just turned around and sold it. I hated it. But the thing of the matter is, I thought that there's some cool aspects of that. So basically what I did was I just took the guitar and I went and tuned this string down to a B. And then I tuned the A down to an F sharp. And then I was able to come up with like these cool things. So I had the low. Let me just change the guitar tone here. So then I had this kind of sound. Anyway, so that's kind of like what we did, and that's, you know, because of Jimmy Page, made me go and seek out, well, I can go tune the guitar any way I want. I can try to figure it out, and so we did like a lot of open tuning stuff and a lot of crazy tunings, and my bass player was like, are you out of your effing mind? Because he was always like, what the hell tuning are you playing in? They were not a fan of having to watch my fingers because they had no idea what tuning I was using in different songs. But we called this one Dropped B, and it worked pretty cool. It was a B to F sharp and then standard tune, which makes like the D chord like a big wide B minor 7. Like. That was like part of the ending, part of the solo in that song. But anyway, so that was kind of like Jimmy Page thing, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about Page because I feel like a lot of people have commented on my Jimmy Page thing, and maybe I didn't say enough about him, but to me, I think he's the most important guitar player in rock and roll, period. I think, not to say that I don't think Jimi Hendrix wasn't important, but I think he was as important as Eddie Van Halen was. Eddie did it to the generation of the 80s, and Jimmy, you know, had a lot of influence on some players in the 70s, and you know, definitely as far as like saying who, you know, when I say the words like, oh, he's the best, I mean, listen to Alan Holdsworth. Who the hell is playing anything close to that? Nobody, in my opinion. So that's why I think, like, and also, what's the criteria when people, I love that, it's the best. Well, I don't know what your criteria is, and you don't know what mine is. So I just think he's the most important, and when I say that, I mean he's the most important, in my opinion, to me. Obviously, if you're not a Zeppelin fan, and you grew up playing jazz, and everything you do is based on Pat Metheny, Jimmy Page ain't the most important guitar player to you. But, you know, that being said, I just think that he is one of the most important players to me. So yeah, so that being said, I'm going to put the guitar away in just a second. I just actually want to show, I have a friend of mine who called me up today and he said he was having trouble with the song, and Just going to show you real quick. It's a song by 707 called I Could Be Good For You. The opening is this A add 9 chord. So it's like... And then what you're going to do is you're going to add... You're going to go up a fret here. So it's the 3rd fret of the 4th string and the 4th fret of the 3rd string. So it's... And then G to D. And then the chords in the song, when he starts singing, it's like a G, D, and I'm a little out of tune here, but I don't give a shit at this point. So it's just, do you believe? Then to an F, and then down to an E, and he strums. Okay. So anyways, I mean, I could go back on and on about Jimmy Page and about Presence and about Into the Outdoor and then go into The Firm and all the things he did, but I won't. But I did want to just say I believe that he's like the most important guitar player. And I think you should take heed to some of that if you're a Page fan, to go and try to come up with different tunings if you're working something out and make something happen. Make it work. Do something. You never know what it could bring. Anyways, yesterday I hung out with my buddy Kirk, and we figured out last night, I think it was, that we've known each other 20-something years, but pretty nuts. And we went to the gun range. I shot my 45, the Glock 36, and I actually shot my 21 as well. I think I like the 36 better. I have a better grip on it. It's easier to control. I can shoot it easier. It was great. I also shot my 357 that I happen to keep on my desk. Don't ask why. No, it's because it's my carry. And it shot great. It shot great. You know, it's funny. The muzzle flash is just a little jarring because it's like, poof. It's like you're back in the 1940s, but the guy has the thing taking the pictures. And my buddy had he was shooting mainly 22s, and he also had a Sig Sauer P226. And I got to tell you, that gun's great. It's a 9mm. It's great. It's a great gun. So that's what I did this weekend. I had a gig on Friday. We played, and I had a gig on Thursday. And we finally figured out what this was. This is a DiMarzio Super 2 from the 70s. There's a couple of things that pointed me to that. Someone had posted a pickup similar, except it had different slugs in it. And someone said, oh, it has only the way the holes were in it. Says that it was a Super 2. And so then I looked up another guy who was selling one on Reverb, and it was exactly this pickup. So it's a Super 2 by DiMarzio. I don't even know what the hell it is. It's probably like the Super Distortion Part 2. But, you know, like I said, it was a decent pickup. My buddy Paul, who I didn't even realize that was his name on YouTube, really got me pointed in the right area. So I basically said he could have it. And I know he's been building guitars left and right. Just really super appreciate everybody's comments on the page. Again, if there's something that I can teach or we can talk about, let me know. I thank you again, and very good.
He's laying there full of fucking blood. I'm out of breath. I got blood all over my fucking clothes. He's laughing at me all the way.
You're right on target. You're right on the money. Everything you said. You hit the nail right on the head with your comments, what you're saying today. You're 150% correct.